You know, in the book I used to talk about being young and my brothers being better at me at dancing when they go to the wall parties and stuff. Do you know, I'm just like literally like clinging onto the wall, praying that no auntie or uncle's gonna come and like launch me into the middle to try and get a fireball. Like, so it came from initial idea from a producer, a friend of mine called Hagen. Same like us, you know, born in Britain, but I've got kind of Ghanaian heritage. And he sent my editor Mags from the publisher Jacaranda my name when they were looking for someone to write about African music. So that was the kind of initial kind of conversations we had. And the great thing about meeting her initially was we weren't talking about music solely, we were talking about like life in general. And I think, you know, the way I kind of spoke passionately about approaching things in a kind of really holistic manner, let her know that I was the one that would be able to kind of write this book. Well, I was quite lucky in terms of I tried to really look at the academic journals where people did really extensive and intensive research around these topics, and you know, where there was a lineage of different prestigious, if you want to call them that word, African musicologists, like people like Francis Bebe, people like the late J.H. Kwabena Ketia as well, in terms of not music just only in Ghana, but music across like West Africa and Africa as a whole, and how importantly they took it as a kind of craft to really understand and know where you're coming from, but also like the meaning and the context, which comes from, I guess, from maybe a tribal context, but building it into like kind of popular mainstream was like really cool to understand. So those are really kind of figures there who turned that kind of verbal, wrote it down, and they were African as well. So those are kind of really resonant kind of past masters that I was able to kind of lean onto for the research for this book. I'd probably say, it's always changing, but in a minute I'd probably say it's the hip life chapter. I think particularly just to understand, you know, youth in Ghana and having the kind of soundtrack at the time and the different influences for kind of African American kind of rap and hip hop artists, and how they were able to kind of speak in their kind of local dialect over these beats as well. It was amazing to kind of chronicle and see behind the scenes of how we're kind of seeing the movement really built. It's been like unquestionable. I think especially with the more kind of personalized rise of kind of social media. You know, initially, you know, you had that kind of MySpace as a platform where people were just like putting their 4 or 5 tracks on and just maybe building that kind of network within there. But on top of it now, you know what I mean, you've got more kind of personalized aspects where you can have an artist, have a kind of Spotify and directly know where your listeners are kind of coming from. And the aspect in terms of building your kind of merchandise, knowing where to kind of tour because you have a resonant kind of crowd within that, kind of let me know that, you know, Afrobeats, the whole kind of movement and culture is something that is always and will continue to kind of develop and go far, surpass what we kind of initially had in our kind of communities within the UK and diaspora, but to like a wider realm. I think I see, you know, artists continue to be more experimental. You know, the idea of kind of really honing in on different kind of concepts and how that lands kind of visually. I think you see it sometimes with the kind of the Ote movement that's come out of Nigeria to a certain extent, but it'd be more interesting, or I feel like the artists that are on the precipice of moving towards the kind of mainstream side, how they kind of build more artistically and connect the dots of different parts of their identity through the music and through building that kind of creativity. So that's definitely one aspect I'm looking forward to seeing how the whole scene and movement develops.